Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We're excited to have Dr. Schovanec on the phone, so we're going to jump right over there. Dr. I will say this, if you have any questions for Dr. Schovanec, feel free to text us at 806-680-2790. Dr. Schovanec, how are things going over at Texas Tech?
Well, good morning, Matt, Dave. As is the case with many, we just have to sort of deal with the issues on a day-by-day basis. But I would say we're doing well. Yesterday was the first official report for the fall 2020 enrollment. We start issuing those reports on a regular basis 6 weeks out, and our numbers continue to be up. We have a waiting list to get into the dormitories, and we have, of course, no place to put the students. This will be the first time that we've ever allowed freshmen to live off campus. We reached out to parents a couple of weeks ago to say they have an option of choosing what they want to do. So in spite of all the issues related to the pandemic, the interest of students in coming to campus for a face-to-face experience is very strong at this point.
So, Dr. Schovanec, one of the big things I've noticed is that they did some changes to the student visa, at least, as well as foreign students working are going to school and living at Texas Tech or other universities. Have these new rules that if they're not taking in-school classes, I guess they can't be here, or if they're taking all online classes, has that affected Texas Tech at all?
Not to this point. You're referring to the fact that the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement issued new guidelines for the student exchange visitor program.
Right.
And basically requiring that they would have to have a face-to-face course. Now, since we're offering face-to-face instruction, we don't feel that's going to have a dramatic impact on our graduate enrollment. In fact, in yesterday's enrollment report, graduate enrollment was up over 4%. But we're way out there, so it's too early to draw definite conclusions. And also, our international enrollment is 7 to 8%. If you were to look at schools like New York University or even UT Dallas, they're about 30%. So I suspect that may have a greater impact on them. The issue we're dealing with more than just the recent student exchange visitor program restrictions, is the fact that we have quite a few students who can't get back into the country because of visa issues. And particularly that affects us in the STEM areas.
Yeah, are we talking about from areas that have been hit by COVID-19, or is this have to do with other issues?
It's other issues. For instance, I was recently told that we have, in the teens, the number of students coming in from Sri Lanka. And I don't actually know what their COVID situation is. But there has been a change in sort of the processing of visas for a couple of years now. And they're slow to make decisions on some of those cases. And also, they have changed requirements with regard to H-1 visas, and many of our faculty or international faculty have those sort of visas. We have 5 or 6 faculty who are still having issues with getting back into the country, new hires. So there's a whole host of issues related to international enrollment and faculty, but thus far, the impact on Texas Tech hasn't been dramatic.
Okay. So everything is looking good for the fall semester. Matt,
I would say everything is looking okay.
They're looking okay, right? How is the in-school? So in other words, if you're a student and you're going to go to the campus and take an actually on-campus class in person, what is that going to look like?
Well, we're actually doing that right now for summer 2. We have about 350 students who are currently enrolled in face-to-face instruction. There's about 30 courses. And I think we're one of the few schools that are offering face-to-face instruction. One of the reasons we did that was because we wanted to have a chance to test some of our protocols and policies. And so when we start up in the fall, are you there, Matt?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I'm hearing the interference. We have a whole host of policies and procedures, and we've been announcing these for quite some time. But every week now we issue a new video as part of the Texas Tech commitment where we might address issues in student life and housing in the classrooms. But we have restricted the capacity in rooms. And even on a daily basis, we continue to change some of the capacity limits as we get feedback from departments and colleges. We have sanitization stations around the campus already. We call them wellness stations. There's a protocol for students entering the classroom, assigned seating, wiping down desks and such, how they navigate around campus, the issues that we have to implement in terms of the dorms. So given what's happened in summer, too, we've had no incidents. Again, I think it's difficult to extrapolate from such a small number of 350 to close to 40,000, but it gives us some hope that things will be okay. We hear so much feedback from parents and students about their desire to have somewhat of a normal experience. And in fact, yesterday, Jamie Hanser, the Vice President for Enrollment Management, told me that she's getting an increasing number of calls from out-of-state parents and students who, yesterday she was relating a case from California. They know there it's going to be mostly face-to-face, and that's not what the family or the student wants. And so they're going to be coming to Texas Tech.
Yeah.
At the same time, we have to make sure we can handle that in a safe way. About a week ago, I received a message, and I get messages every day like this from the Texas Tech Parent Association, saying that the feedback from parents has been very positive, and she shared with me a text from a mother, and she wrote, "I just got through watching the latest video in the Texas Tech commitment. I'm teary-eyed, and I am so grateful for the steps you're taking that will try to give my daughter as normal experience as possible." This is what most students and parents want, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure we do it safely.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
can we? Let me ask the Dr. Schovanec one quick question before we go to break. Doctor, a quick answer here. We have a texter that says, "I hope we won't bow to pressure to stop using guns up."
You know what? We won't. And let me address that. I don't know why that would come up, but last year a group of students came to me about that very issue. And I told them that's something I will never do. First of all, I said to them, presidents come and go. That is a part of the Texas Tech culture that is very dear to the students and the alumni. If they want to make a change, any conversation about that is going to start with them, not with me. And I think we have so many other important issues right now that putting our thumb and finger up in the air is way down on the list.
I agree with you. It is 8:16, Matt. Let's go ahead and take a break and then come back and close out Dave and Matt in the morning on KFYO with Dr. Schovanec after this. How about?
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin, and so we're talking with Dr. Schovanec. Dr. Schovanec, president of Texas Tech. There's a lot of questions going around about sports, what that's going to look like. I don't know that you know 100%, but right now I know that they're looking at only in-conference games, I guess, in the Big 12.
Right, Matt. Kirby and I have discussed this many times as recently as yesterday. And in fact, the commissioner, Bowlesby, gave me a call yesterday just so we could chat about a number of things. And I believe we're all on the same page in that we still feel that we have time to make a final decision. I could understand why the Pac-12 did that when you look at probably USC and UCLA aren't going to play because of it's such a hot spot. our situation here in the Big 12 is differently. And so as of now, we have more of a wait-and-see approach. I saw the article in the paper today where the editorial said people need to know, but why back yourself into a corner? So Arizona did cancel on us, and Kirby is already working on a replacement game.
Do I see a Texas A&M replacement game?
It would be I would be way out of my lane to be getting into that. But I can assure you, Kirby is leaving no stone unturned. And so I wish I could say more, but I'm not.
Okay. All I'm saying is people are begging for another Texas A&M Texas Tech rematch.
Yeah, wouldn't
Make
that be
some
awesome?
headlines
But
this morning,
I'm a fan of it. But there's issues that would have to be worked out.
Yeah.
But we're looking for a replacement game. And one thing that I mentioned to Kirby yesterday, and to the commissioner as well, is we may have to take a kind of a novel approach those first few games in terms of reducing the capacity even further if we still have a lot of the capacity limits that are in place. But we are committed to Fox and ESPN for more than 50 games. And if we only play an in-conference schedule, I believe we're going to have a hard time meeting that obligation. So that's something we have to also consider. And when you make these comments about needing to play and such, it would be unfair to say that we're being driven solely by the money. I know people might say that. I can assure you what Kirby and the athletic department is doing is focused, first of all, on the health of those student athletes. There are no positive cases right now, and they've done a great job of managing that and messaging to those students, you have a responsibility to stay healthy.
Yeah. Dr. Schovanec, I know one of the things that you wanted to talk about are one of our favorite people, Dr. Ben Powell, over at the Free Market Institute. The Free Market Institute has made quite a splash at Texas Tech, hasn't it?
Well, Dave, thanks for mentioning that. I mentioned that last week until the program was canceled because there had been an article in the paper about the Free Market Institute, and that has been such a success story. That began when I was dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, and I'll never forget it. A rancher, a very, very generous rancher and family, has done so much for tech in West Texas and Texas. He flew in because he wanted to talk about how we teach economics. And I was waiting for him outside Holden Hall, and I think he must have just came right out of the pasture or the feedlot, and he had a vision about what students need. And they put in a substantial amount of money to seed that initiative. But since then, I think there's more than $20 million has been donated to the Free Market Institute. There are many students in that program. World-class scholarship is being done. But also, there's a sense of engagement with the community. When you consider last year we had George Will here to speak. Walter Williams has been here, I think, at least twice. So you see the full spectrum of thought about markets. And I know there's a perception out there that only one voice dominates at universities. And I hear from people about that. But I would like to assure them we don't restrict what people think and believe. And I think the Free Market Institute is an example of that.
Yeah, so Dr. Schovanec, we have about 2 minutes left. Is there something else specific that you wanted to highlight, maybe with either COVID-19 or security on campus or something else that's going on?
Not really, Matt. I know there was a lot of questions in response to our decision to require face masks. And then, shortly thereafter, the governor issued that mandate. But our attitude has been, we're going to take every possible precaution so that we can operate. We don't want to get into a situation like we did last March where we had to shut down. I think the students suffer in terms of their overall experience. online. They've done a good job of making that transition, but you don't get the face-to-face advising and so on and so forth. And I hear that from parents and from students, but also it has a tremendous impact on this community. So we're going to take every step we can to make sure we're not a hot spot, that we can stay open, and that was a big part of that decision.
All right. Well, Dr. Schovanec, president of Texas Tech University, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us about the upcoming fall semester.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care of yourself, okay?
All right.